Coming up on today's show, we have so many games. Sony's State of Play for September, Xbox's showcase at the Tokyo Game Show, Nintendo unveil the official title for Breath of the Wild 2, and 3 new Yakuza games. Shall we get the show going? Episode 78 of the Weekend Catch-Up Club podcast. Whoop, whoop. Oh my god, it has been a bit of a week. Tokyo Game Show happened. Sony State of Play happened. Nintendo Direct happened. Xbox's conference at TGS happened. Oh my god, like what the hell? It seems to like backloaded the year. E3 is kind of defunct now, or what it seems to be. It's no longer happening, and now it's happening in September with all of the shenanigans going on with all of this stuff. What did you guys think about all of the back to back just game stuff that was happening this past week?
I love it. I mean, on some level, I'm like, oh, how am I supposed to keep up with all of this? But also, give me more. Like, I love watching trailers for new things and getting excited for things that are coming. I'm a massive God of War fangirl, so I was like losing my mind at the Sony State of Play, and I don't even care that I don't need that controller, but I'm getting it. I don't care. I need that swag. We don't need a third controller in the house. I mean, yes, we do. Obviously, we do. I need the one with the wolves on it. Come on.
Absolutely. I'm actually surprised they didn't announce a console with it as well. It was just a controller. Yeah. But, maybe nobody can get a standard PS5 just now, so why?
Yeah, exactly.
They can't do a custom one.
Some nice decal or something to put on it, like some nice artwork, nice big sticker you can whack on the side of it. There you go. That's much more manageable than a full console. But that would be amazing to get a full God of War branded console. I want that.
I'm gonna stick a Sharpie in my 2-year-old son's hand and just tell him to draw me Atreus and Kratos and see what he does with it.
That would be so cute.
Bit of red flashes, a couple of stick figures, if that, a couple of scrolls, and maybe some snot, and done.
It would be adorable. It would be adorable and uniquely yours. So,
I think it would. It may be his very first piece of artwork on a PS5
I could try
canvas.
Yeah, I love that. I could try and do the same thing, and it would probably be about the same quality as what a child could do, to be fair, because I can't draw to save myself.
Commission artwork.
I know.
Don't give me a pen. Just...
So, guys, shall we start with the Sony State of Play and go through that? Since we kind of already started with talking about God of War, I was expecting God of War to get announced, but I also at the same time I don't want to see any more God of War. It's like you're just putting it. Please, you're putting out trailer after trailer after
no
trailer.
Spoilers.
Just like stop it now. Just stop it. We know it's going to be amazing, and we know it's like a month away. It's like you don't have to promote this anymore. Just give us something new. But it was an incredible trailer, and that's how they ended the show. Jamie, did you see the State of Play, and what did you think?
I did. I flicked. So historically, I tend to sort of compartmentalize PlayStation stuff because I'm not a PS owner, so I don't necessarily get as hyped for. But they've started doing something great in the past little while, which is releasing stuff on PC for me. So now my ears prick up a little more, and I went and watched it. The God of War trailer looks, and I've only ever played briefly the original God of War. The rest of the franchise I've never got into, not because I've just not had the chance to. And, oh my God, it looks good. It looks... And Christopher Judge's gravelly tones in there are just... that man. I mean, I watched him in Mega Shark versus Mecha Shark, so I'll definitely give him a chance in God of War. So, but yeah, no, it looks fantastic. And there were some other really... A lot of Japanese titles, like JRPG type stuff. Couple of weird ones. Sin Duality looks interesting, but clunky in the movement, but very early, so fair enough. I won't judge you on that, but hard to tell. But yeah, there's some really interesting stuff in there. But the highlight would definitely be God of War. Like that'd be the one, because that I've got a chance of coming to PC and reasonably getting on with. So I would.
I know.
I
You
would like to
mentioned
get
Synduality. I was watching it thinking, what the heck is this? And then for some reason, because it looks like you control the sidekick robot thing, and the little girl is kind of like, I guess she's like the one that's meant to be in charge, but you're kind of directly controlling the robot thing. And for some reason, all I could think about was Penny Parker in Into the Spider-Verse, where she's the little girl.
Yeah.
And it's the giant spider robot that is
love
basically, that she kind of controls and operates and stuff like that. I thought, is this like some kind of pseudo weird flip where they're just made like an Into the Spider-Verse Penny Parker dedicated batshit crazy game, but they're calling it Synduality? I'm like, I'm down. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but just come on, just give me that.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like, I hadn't even thought about that, but I love that. Yeah, I'm all for that.
You're telling me I should finally watch Into the Spider-Verse, aren't you?
Are you telling me you haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse, Jamie?
You need to. It's so good.
Oh my God. It's so good.
It looks amazing. I have it on Blu-ray. This is the worst of it as well, because it's Spider-Man, so I was like, oh, I'll buy it instantly. I don't care if I watch it. Or I very nearly bought the PS game of Spider-Man, even though I couldn't play it, because I saw the artwork on it. I was like, oh, I want that. And I was like, no, that's stupid. That's really stupid. So,
well, now you can play it, Jamie. It's on PC. There's no excuses.
I'm dedicating a month of my life at some point and just sitting down and playing it, because when I pick that, if I get to be Spider-Man, I don't want to know anyone for at least 4 weeks. Like, that's it. That's going to be my life. I adore Spidey.
Oh, it's a phenomenal game as well. It's I think it was my second ever platinum after God of War, because I was like, I just want to see every inch of this game. It's a beautiful game. And Miles Morales is also really good. And we're getting a Spidey 2 soon, aren't we?
Spidey 2, whether it's going to be co-op or not, we don't know. But there's Miles Morales and Spidey team up, but that's all we know. I just want Spider-Gwen. Like, can Spider-Gwen make an appearance and then she can like take the mantle, and then we have a full-blown dedicated Spider-Gwen game? That'd be amazing.
That'd be incredible. Hey, we've got rid of Fortnite now, so that's something.
You say that, but I saw a screenshot of Spider-Gwen in Fortnite, and I was so impressed by how much the model looks exactly like the Spider-Verse character from the movie. It's so good. I thought, just give me a game that has the exact look of Spider-Verse, and that would be amazing. That'd be amazing. Anyway, we got a little bit off track, but that's okay.
Yes.
Shall we go around the room and talk about our favourite ones that were shown? Sarah's obviously kicked us off with Ragnarok. Shall we keep it going, Jamie? Keep it going. You mentioned Synduality. Anything else?
No, I mean, Ragnarok and Synduality were two that stood out. The other one was, and I knew this had happened. I've instantly forgotten the name.
Describe
Tale
it.
of the Ronin? Was it Tale of the
Oh,
Ronin?
that sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right.
No, Rise of the Ronin.
Rise of the Ronin. That was a nice trailer, and that looked pretty sweet. I like that, because I love the feudal Japan setting anyway. So yeah, that hit different, as the kids say. I was about to say it.
That slaps, yeah.
Oh no! See, I can't do that one. I was actually about to say that hit different, and then I was like, "Oh, I feel dirty." But yeah, no, that looked really interesting. Like I said, a lot of the rest of it, I don't know that it. Not in a bad way, but there was a sort of there was a bit of a generic JRPG feel in amongst there, which is not, because most JRPGs are ridiculously entertaining. Like, generic doesn't mean bad.
Yeah.
But there was nothing necessarily jumped out at me as exceptionally different or that over anything else. It's just like, oh, that looks good, that looks good, that looks good, that looks good. So, but overall, yeah, it was a nice showing. There was some really lots of pretty. There's just very pretty games everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah. Rise of the Ronin, I think, was my number one game. It's now become my number one game that I'm most, I think, looking forward to over the next couple of years, because it's by Team Ninja. Team Ninja are cranking out games like crazy, and we're going to get into one specifically that Sarah's going to lead the section on called Wulong and Fallen Dynasty, also by Team Ninja. They not long put out the collector's edition, not the collector's edition, what was it, the remaster for the Neo collection, and now they've got 2 games kind of coming out fairly, within a year or so of each other. But Rise of the Ronin, because it looks like Team Ninja's version of Ghost of Tsushima. So it's going to be like crazy fast, probably hard, but not as hard as Wolong or Neo, but much more, as you said, Jamie, JRPG kind of thing, open world. You had that glider thing when the character jumped off the steeple or the cliff, I think it was. It just looks amazing. They've got a handgun revolver and a samurai sword, and oh my god, it just looks like crazy cinematic. The only downside to that epic, amazing trailer is that it said 2024.
Yeah.
So it's a really long way away. But hey, never mind. We've got something to look forward to. And I like that they actually did that. It's almost like what they did with Assassin's Creed, where they said, yeah, we've got these games coming out. We've got the codename Red and Hexy and Jade, but they're like 4 years away. But this is the roadmap. I kind of respect them for showing the roadmap, but yeah, 2024 is going to be a long wait for that.
Yeah.
I lost it when Like a Dragon Ishin got announced as well. And it was funny to see some like other talking head stuff, like not realizing the significance that it's Ishin. They thought it was like a new samurai game, but it's actually finally the PS3 game that never got released in the West, and now it's finally coming. And I think it's coming February or something like that next year. So it just looks batshit crazy as well, because if you played any of the Yakuza games, you just know it's going to be absolutely bonkers. Just amazingly fun, ridiculous story in the feudal Japan setting, and I'm so excited for that. But oh my god, there's tons more. I'll just rattle through them and then we'll go back. So Hogwarts Legacy got another trailer. It was fine. I'm still excited for Hogwarts Legacy, but that trailer wasn't probably the best showing of that game. Pacific Drive really caught my eye because it's from, I think it was Ironwood Studios, and it looks like a first-person, like Storm Chaser, Ghostbusters kind of thing, and it just looks super weird and interesting. And it looks like it's only first-person, but I'm not sure about that. It just kind of had that vibe to it. But the style of it looked kind of Firewatchy and like really cool.
Yeah.
And I just loved it, like the fact that clearly you're in like Ecto 1, the Ghostbusters mobile, but we can't call it that, and we're chasing these supernatural storms, and it's like, okay, this is cool. What else? Stellar Blade just looked insane. That used to be, I think, Project Eve, and it's got like major Devil May Cry or Bayonetta vibes to it. It just looks, oh my god, what a blowout of some stellar games.
And Tekken. Woo! Tekken was at the top, I think.
Tekken at the very top of the show, yeah.
8? Question mark?
Yeah, Tekken 8.
Yeah. Tekken 8.
Oh man, I used to play so much Tekken 3 back in the day. That was like the first Tekken I ever played. And we would actually have tournaments with like my mum, my brother, my sister, and I. And yeah, I mean, well, a couple of us were not very good at it, but my brother would just slap us around. Until he went off to uni, and I was like, cool, now you don't have like a monopoly on the console. I'm going to play, I'm going to train. And there's, imagine the training montage. And then he comes back from university. And I'm like, right, let's play.
Did you get the bandana out, tie it tight around your forehead?
Yeah.
Like, let's go, bitch. I got you.
Just...
Jamie just got a copyright strike for that music. Thank you, Jamie.
Well, with me singing out of tune, I think you're safe.
the French horn out of Chin Rocky theme.
Yeah. That's the Jimmy Hart School of Music. Changed just enough notes to be legally distinctive.
Absolutely. I think John Williams' music is like that as well. It's like any little single bars, it's an immediate strike because it can pick it up. It's so distinctive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'd completely forgotten about Tekken 8, so I'm just sat here now. I realised I completely forgot that was in the showcase at all, because it was it was
right at the top, wasn't it? The first one.
The teaser sting at the start of the thing.
It was the opening, that thunderstorm. I got to admit, So I read that it's moving to Unreal Engine, and it does look phenomenal. And what a time to be a fighting game fan. You guys probably know that I do love my fighting games, even though I suck at them, like horribly so. But I just like to dive in and smack some CPU opponents around, because I can't do it against actual people. But like Street Fighter 6 has got announced. That's coming very, very soon. Tekken 8 is coming very, very soon. And Street Fighter is using the RE engine now for the very first time ever. It looks glorious and beautiful. And now Tekken 8 is moving over to Unreal Engine 5. It looks incredible. It's like, oh my god! Like, if there's a genre of game that can be a visual powerhouse showcase, like fighting games are probably that and maybe racing games, but I would say probably fighting games more, because it's just two opponents and the arena, so it's fairly kind of condensed, and you can just pack in like so much polish and detail. And you saw it when, I think it was Kazuya did this like flex of the bicep. I'm not gonna imitate it because I have no biceps, but he did this flex of the bicep, and you saw like the muscle and sinew just like bulging, and then he did this incredible uppercut to Jin, and knocked him like a football field away in this thunderstorm with a lightning strike and everything. Like, oh my god, if this is meant to be game engine, it's like, can you imagine how ridiculous this is going to be when all the characters kind of roll out and the game launches? Damn, what a time to be a fighting game fan.
I played Tekken 3 was my first Tekken, and I played quite a bit of that. But it was weekends. One of my friends had it, and it was one of those. So that was weekends for a solid sort of couple of months. Was us just beating until it would always be a case of, I'm sure it was Tekken 3, but it would always be a case of, right, I'm going to play Yoshimitsu, so I'm going to put my controller down and give up, because every time you pick that up, I die. So, but I haven't really. I think the last Tekken I played was Tekken Tag Tournament. Don't think I've played one since then. So I'll need to look into it, because I do love my fighting games. I am dreadful, but I love them. Mortal Kombat was always my favourite franchise, but Tekken's looking glorious.
Tekken's like one of the core big fighting game franchises. It's really Tekken, Mortal Kombat, and Street Fighter. They're like the big three. Well, there seems to be nowadays. I mean, there's tons of them, of course. But whenever there's a new big one getting announced, it's like everybody starts salivating and thinking about, oh yeah, let's dive back in, and you get this crazy spike of players for like the first week, and then the casuals like myself drop off. It's like, yeah, I can't even compete. It's not even a chance. I'm just going to stick to the dummy beating up mode, the practice modes and stuff. And the dummy beats me up instead. So that's fun times.
It's one thing with fighting games, it's the same with the wrestling games over the years. Those games were always at their best when they were couch co-op, when you had a friend round and you were both sat there, beating each other and occasionally elbowing each other in the head for, like, would you stop corner trapping me? But obviously now you can play online, which is great. But I've noticed that the fighting games historically, you both have to have a really good connection, and that game has to be really well optimized. Otherwise, your counters will not land because they will lag. Like the wrestling games have been, the 2K games and stuff, it's only in the past sort of couple entries that they've really started to get the hang of that. Because previously, there was no point playing online, because you would never land a reversal. You would never counter anyone, because there was always input delay online. It just never synced up. It was. So I think it's as long as everyone's got a good connection and the game is really. I think the games are starting to get the hang of it. The infrastructure over here, maybe not so much. Still, is lagging behind. No pun intended. But that's as long as that works, then I think they're more, because a fighting game's only so much fun playing solo. Always. There always comes a point when you're like, I've got nothing left to do.
Yeah, they sort of have they'll have a little storyline kind of going on, right? But it's never sort of incredibly gripping, generally speaking, or too intricate. It's a kind of like it's a means to make the fighting game able to be played solo, and you can, and for unlocking characters and stuff like that. Like it's worth doing for that, but I don't think it's necessarily got much kind of, oh, I'm going to come back and play that story again because that story was amazing. Like I don't think I've ever had that with a fighting game. It's all about the couch co-op for me.
Yeah. Well, Sarah, allow me to introduce you to Injustice 2 fighting
Injustice
game.
2.
Because that's the DC superheroes fighting game from NetherRealm, who make the Mortal Kombat games.
Ooh.
By far and away the best story in a fighting game I've ever experienced, and I'm not kidding you. I can stand up toe to toe with actual full-on story-based games. It is so goddamn good, and visually it's just amazing. So whack it on easy and just bitch slap Green Arrow. And
did you say Injustice?
Injustice 2.
Right,
it is so goddamn.
Little tab on my browser. I'll look at that later.
Injustice 1 has probably got the better story, but Injustice 2 is fantastic as well. And it's a continuation of Injustice 1.
Cool.
And it is amazing. So highly recommend that if you want to bargain bin it and then just whack it on easy and just enjoy the story. Or just Google YouTube and get just all the cinematics and just watch cinematics. You could do that as well. But it's awesome. Because Jamie, we were talking about, I think we were talking about actually Gotham Knights way back, and then Injustice came up about how cool it is when you're picking the same character, and we were wondering how that was going to work with Gotham Knights. I know we're going off piste again, but that's the beauty of the show. And we mentioned Injustice 2 because that's all about multiverse stuff. So Jamie could be Batman, and Sarah, you could be Batman, but your Batman can be fully customized to however you want it to be, to look into like the different armor and stuff like that. And it would make narrative sense because Jamie's Batman is from another multiverse, another Earth.
Cool.
So it was all that stuff, and I thought that's just so clever and it's so cool because it makes sense to go if like Batman's fighting himself. Why is Batman fighting himself? Is it just like a game mechanic? But they've actually made it a narrative mechanic, and it's the same with all the characters. You have infinite multiverses, and infinite Earths. So you can have the Turtles, or you can have Hellboy, or you can like multiples, and it'll be completely different, different colors, different clothing, and everything like that, because you're literally from another universe. And I thought that was awesome. Anyway, got
that
a bit of a
sounds
segue there.
super cool. Super cool. I'm going to look that up for sure.
Awesome game, and it spun off into comics and everything, didn't it? Like the Injustice story got so much love. I'm pretty sure it was that way around, but the Injustice story got so much love that there's now comic series continuing the stories and stuff like that. Like it's become quite a key part of the DC mythos now.
Definitely, yeah. So that was Sony's State of Play with a nice little segue into some random stuff, as we always do. Shall we talk Tokyo Game Show Xbox conference next? Yeah, so this was, I completely forgot that Tokyo Game Show was actually happening. I thought it was going to be like October or November, and all of a sudden it was here. I thought, oh my god, there's an Xbox conference tonight, which was last week. I was super impressed with this showing. Xbox notoriously don't always have the biggest following or success, obviously in Japan, but they throwed down, and then they showed a lot of really targeted games and really focused around that audience, and I thought overall it was a great show. Nothing really stood out to me that got me excited, but the ones that they did show I thought were great for like most of the games were finally coming to Xbox that I had played and stuff and seen on other platforms, like Persona 5 finally coming to the Xbox platforms. Ni no Kuni are two of my all-time favorite JRPGs, especially if you're a Studio Ghibli fan. Ni no Kuni 1 is available right now, and next year this Revenant Kingdom is coming out, which is the second one. Danganronpa, I don't have any history with that series. Eiyuden Chronicles, I don't have any history with that series. Blaze Blue is a anime-based fighting game. I know of it, never played it. What did you guys think overall?
Sarah?
As a non-Xbox person, I didn't really, not much of it registered for me. Although I guess, with PC and Game Pass, there are some things I can definitely look at playing. I'm very similar to you, Ross. Like I sort of looked through it and went, I don't know half of these franchises, let alone whether it's exciting or not that they're coming to Game Pass. So cool. I defer to my fellow hosts on this for sure.
Jamie.
I mean, things look really fun. I'm sure they're really good, but I'd be more than willing to take recommendations as to what to actually look into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jamie.
I was really pleased to see Persona come to Xbox because it's a game series I've heard so much about and never touched. Same with Danganronpa, actually. I've not touched that myself, but again, I've heard a lot of good things about it. So for me, it was mostly a case of looking at it and going, "Oh, there's another 63 games coming to Game Pass to play." Thanks, Microsoft. What is free time? What is sleep? I constantly, every day I log in, it's like, hey, guess what? We've got a new game for you. Like, well, I haven't played the last 52, but cheers. But I'm not complaining. Odyssey, obviously, is now out on Game Pass. I actually need to play some Assassin's Creed again for the first time in ages, so that's happening.
That's real good. That's a really good one, yeah.
Yeah, it's my eldest Sean has been playing Origins currently as well. So I've been, and I was watching them play, and I'm sat there thinking, yeah, I need to get back to AC. It's the after the announcements of the new games, and now watching some recently, the bite is there. So that'll be happening soon if I can ever put down Valorant for 5 minutes. But it was mostly just, like I said, there's obviously a lot of JRPG type stuff again. Blaze Blue, I've played at some point in the past, one entry or something, I believe, or something from the same team. Like, it's very familiar, but it's another one I'm like, yeah, that rings a bell, and I've no idea what I've played in the series or by that dev team. So, but yeah, all in all, just again, just a really good showing and a lot of stuff coming to Game Pass. The standout though out of everything for me that I really need to play is Ni no Kuni.
Yes.
Because I've heard you talk about it. I've watched you play it. I'm sure, and I've watched friends play it, and I've watched videos, and it looks glorious. And one of these days, I'll actually watch a Studio Ghibli film. Don't at me, internet, but I'll.
Sarah, why do we have Jamie on this show? Can we just get a new co-host, just a victim? Oh my god!
I watched every film ever made up to about 1996, and then I sort of slowed down a bit. So ask me about the 80s, folks. I've got it down pat, but anything past that, I'm kind of slacking. But yeah, no, Ni no Kuni was definitely the one that I have to get downloaded and start playing because it just looks.
It's right up your
beautiful.
street, man. It's Pokemon. It's basically Pokemon, a Pokemon game, but it's got the narrative punch, I guess, heartbreak, and of a Studio Ghibli movie, because they did all the cinematics and then Level 5 did the game stuff, and oh my god, this game is just, it's one of the bona fide all-time classics. I can't recommend it high enough. It's such a good game.
Right, I'm gonna get it too, and we can play it.
Yeah,
it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I had it originally on my PlayStation 3, and it was, I don't think it was technically the smoothest experience, but then when I was so excited when it first got announced that it was getting a remaster, and it came to PS4 and the Switch. And this is going to be a really kind of strange little ramble here, but bear with me. I opted for the Switch version over the PS4 version because the PS4 version had super crisp animation graphics, like clean lines of animation and everything, and it ran at 60 FPS. But I wanted the Switch version because it was actually a bit rougher. So it was, the image was a bit softer, and the frame rate was at 30. And that felt, this is weird, but that felt for me that it was closer to actual animation, an actual animated movie, because it was a softer image and because the frame rate wasn't like hyper smooth. It felt more like a Studio Ghibli film. So I went for the Switch, and it's amazing on the Switch as well. It's that perfect kind of little format, style of game for the Switch. But saying that, I'm definitely still going to pick it up and play it on the Xbox at the ultra crazy crisp graphic settings and the frame rate settings as well, because I think the smoothness will obviously be nice, But at the time, I was like, yeah, but it doesn't feel like a movie. It doesn't feel like a Studio Ghibli movie. And the softness and the slower frame rate actually benefited it there in a weird kind of turn of events. There you go. Oh, tangent for you.
Makes sense, though. I can see that. Especially because, that's the style that it's in. You want to have it as close to that as possible. For sure.
Yeah. Just not 24 FPS, like the cinema frame rate, because that would be awful. That'd be too far.
No. There's a line. There's a line, and we're not crossing that.
I know. And Deathloop finally got shown off, and finally coming to Game Pass and Xbox, and I think PC Game Pass as well. So the exclusivity period for PS5 is finally up, I guess, and then it makes its way over to Xbox platforms. That's kind of cool. I'm looking forward to checking that out, because I never picked it up on the PlayStation 5 at the time, and as much as I love Arcane Studios games, Dishonored, Prey, I was unsure about this one because they were going for like a roguelike kind of time loop thing. I thought, this is very different from the Dishonored series. Am I gonna like it? And I didn't want to just drop $70 on it to get on the PlayStation 5 and find out, oh god, actually this is not my cup of tea. And a few of my friends have told me they were hugely excited for it, and then they're like, this is not what I was expecting. I don't know if it's for me. So the fact that we can just jump in a Game Pass and just check it out for just that monthly sub rather than dropping the full price of a game, hugely exciting.
Yeah, I am. We have it, but I haven't played it yet. On PS5. My other half has played it, and I think he reacted similarly. Like, he was really excited for the game, but it was not what he was expecting. And then I think that even though he played a lot of it initially, to try and be like, yeah, I'm going to give this a real good go, it got to a point where he was less interested in it because it wasn't the game that he was hoping for. That doesn't mean that it's not good, and that's why actually things like Game Pass are amazing, so you can actually do what you're planning on doing, Ross. So
yeah,
you'll have to let me know, and yeah, maybe I'll have a go at it and see what all the not fuss, I guess, because it's not really fuss. Let's see what all the chat is about. Whether it is
critically, it's been praised like crazy. But then you look at the user scores, and they're like, I mean, take it with a pinch of salt for user scores, I guess. But there is a disparity between what the critics are saying and then what like gamers are maybe kind of saying, maybe because they're expecting something different, a bit more like a Dishonored, but in that kind of 1960s alternate aesthetic and setting. Maybe they're just expecting something different and think, oh, this is really not what I was hoping for, and that left them a little bit salty, as they do.
No, gamers, they would never.
Apparently, it happens occasionally.
No, I couldn't possibly believe it. I think it's the danger when a dev team, well, not the it shouldn't be a danger, but when a dev team decides to go in a different direction to what they've done before, you have always got, people will hear, new game by Arcane Studios, will have an image in their head of what that's going to be. And you do, like, it would be like hearing that 343 had, instead of making a new Halo game, had made a game that works. Sorry. No, it would be like hearing that instead of an FPS, the latest Halo title was going to be Halo Racing, and it was Warthog races and stuff. It might be a brilliant racer, but it's not what you're expecting from 343, and it would throw you off.
Yeah.
And so people would either go in uncertain because it's so different, or go in thinking, yeah, I know what they do, and when it's not what they do that you're currently playing, it's going to feel like it's something wrong with it, which is unfair to the game and to the dev team, and they should be able to branch out and explore their art, so to speak. But always going to happen, always. But Deathloop does interesting. I've
definitely
immersed myself in the hype or read a hell of a lot about it, so I'll just download it one day and see how it is.
Quite right. So before we move on to our next segment, there was one other game which did actually take me by surprise, and that was Pal World, which looked kind of, it looked like not an Animal Crossing. It looked like a kind of Pokemon game, but way more hyper violent in a weird sort of way. So you had these creatures that you would befriend and I guess take them under your, I don't know, your character inventory, like kind of like a Pokemon. It looked gorgeous, but then there was this side to it which was like they were firing rocket launchers and machine guns. I thought, this is bizarre. What on earth is this? So I'm waiting with bated breath to find out what exactly this game is and what it has to offer. But it looked like right up Jamie's street, I have to admit. So Jamie, you're going to have to investigate this one for me.
I completely missed this. I didn't get a chance to watch the showcase, so I read the show notes from it and then went back and looked at the bits and pieces that were... And they didn't mention in their own show notes, I swear, there was no mention.
How dare they?
How the hell did I gloss this over?
I don't know how you missed it,
with
man.
an AK-47. Yeah, sign me up. See, Blastoise running about with a mini-nuke strapped to his back instead of a water pit. Yeah, god damn.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I will look into that. I will absolutely look into that.
It was wild when I was watching it. You're thinking, oh my god, like it looks, because it starts off like really fairy tale, happy, beautiful kind of utopia, and then all of a sudden there's this like all out violence against like creatures and enemies and stuff. I thought, wow, that took a turn. That took a major turn. This is obviously not one of those feel-good games, or maybe it is. I don't know, but a bit strange, very strange.
That's a bit of me. I'll take it.
I know. So let's jump on to our next segment, and this is one that Sarah's going to take us through, and it is Wulong Fallen Dynasty. We showed that off at the Xbox conference. We knew Team Ninja were working on this game, but what they didn't announce, and I don't think anybody expected, was for them to shadow drop a demo, and it is a hefty demo as well for the game. Only for next gen consoles. The demo was, I should say, but I believe it's coming to PC as well, as you would expect, and next gen consoles. I don't believe it's coming to previous gen systems, but I checked out a little bit of both consoles, but Sarah did a deep dive on it, and she's going to tell us all about it. Sarah.
Oh, yeah. So this was really fun. I mean, anything Souls-like, and I'm like, yes, I want to play it. Yes, let's play something really difficult. I want to get my ass handed to me on a plate, please. But yeah, it's great. It's absolutely beautiful as well. Like sort of feudal China. It's technically the late Han Dynasty era, so 184 AD. The world is in turmoil and it's infested with demons. Go kill the demons. You're some random militia soldier dude or dudette. And you start in this area called the Valley of the Crying Wraiths, which just sounds super cool. But what I really loved was, even though you were just playing a demo, you could customize so much stuff. And I think there were some parts that were sort of grayed out that will be sort of added when you play the full game. But like initially you could choose a fighting style which married to an element. So you had fire, earth, wood, metal, and water. Fire being attack, so being a sort of, front line. I like to give the bash, whack whack up the front. That's me. Earth for defense, so you could like summon stuff from the ground that would protect you. Water for support and recovery. That sort of says what it says. Metal for debuffs, and water for stealth. Yeah, it's so cool. And it's all kind of proper Chinese martial arts that you're doing as well. So all the weaponry combined with like jumps and kicks. I'm kind of obsessed with it, and I only played like a little tiny bit. But like with the customization of the characters, there was even an option to add your pronouns. And I was like, this is great. Like, it may not have a massive bearing on the way that you play the game. If anything, it shouldn't. But like, how cool is it that you actually have that option? I think that's amazing. And I ended up making...
You only did the character customization, nothing else, didn't you? You spent all your time in there.
So they had a couple of really good presets, and I was like, I'll just play a preset. And I was like, I'll just have a look at the colors of hair. Oh, look, I can do like different colors. Oh, look, I can actually... There was actually almost not a color wheel, but like a color... like one of those squares when you could literally drag your cursor along and go, I want that very specific hue of red, please. And so I had like this kind of red at the top with black tips, and I was like, oh, and I'll put a little scar on. Oh, and I'll change my eye color, and 20, 30 minutes later, I was like, wait, I'm supposed to be playing this game.
Rabbit hole of customization.
Yeah, but it's all about the
customization.
fashion.
It's the first mini boss in every game, I swear.
But the level of customization, I mean, it felt like it was even more than something like Elden Ring, and I loved that. It may not have had lots of different options for like maybe hairstyles, for example, but the precision of being able to choose different colors, being able to literally move every single part of the face. I think you can also do that on Elden Ring, but like there were just levels to it that I was like, this is really intense and amazing, and I can't wait to see what they might build into it when the actual full game comes out in 2023. But yeah, so that was cool. A couple of things about like the gameplay that were fun. Aside from having Elden Ring like button presses in my head, I was like, no, it's not R1 to hit. It's a square or a triangle to hit. So having to sort of rebrain myself just to play the demo. But they do this amazing tutorial at the start where it teaches you literally everything in a sort of like circular arena thing. So it was great. I knew how to play after, sort of 10 minutes of doing that. And it goes through everything from your basic attacks, your power attacks. You have these wizard spell abilities where essentially you build up your like spirit meter. And then you can cast fire if you've chosen fire as your element. You can summon a fire beast, which will fight for you as well, which was really cool. But the whole like spirit system is really cool as well. Essentially, if you're really aggressive and fighting really hard, you'll get more spirit, and then therefore you can use more of your magical abilities. If you play quite sort of placid, if you dodge, if you get hit, or if you're not sort of right up in front of the enemies all the time, then you'll lose spirit. So that was really cool. I thought it was really interesting. And if you completely lose all your spirit meter, you get stuck in this animation where you're just going, just gotta catch my breath, and then the enemy will just slap you and you're down. What else? Oh, there was this there's sort of a parry mechanic that is a little bit tricky to learn, but I love a good parry. It's if you feel such a badass when you can manage to pull that off. And they've got this morale ranking system as well. So you have a morale count based on how well you're doing in the game. So if you manage to like slice down 10 enemies, your morale will go up, which makes you a little bit stronger, gives you a little buff. If you keep getting killed by the same person, their morale will go up, so it makes it more difficult to go and fight them the next time you go to them. I was wondering why. I was like, this one dude just keeps slapping me, and it was because I kept losing to him, so he was like, oh, I'm the big badass now. And so every time I got back to him, he was more difficult to fight. So you then had to sort of draw him away or actually do the parrying instead of just avoiding the parrying, which I sometimes do. Yeah, it was great. How did you find it, Ross? You say you played a little bit of it?
Yeah, that system, what you're talking about, the morale system, I think is probably the most exciting part of this game. That and the fact that we're finally getting a AAA Chinese mythology set video game, and it's by Team Ninja. Of all of the studios that could be doing it, is the action focused maestros of Team Ninja. I found it really, really hard at first. I thought, oh my god, what on earth? This feels even faster than Neo, and I didn't really click with Neo, and I still haven't clicked with Neo yet. But I love Elden Ring. I do love Sekiro, but this is like another level of just like speed and timing. I thought, oh shit, am I going to be able to do this? And I totally agree with you about the dodge mechanic. So Jamie, just so you're aware, the dodge mechanic is on the circle button. So, but you're deflecting or your parry button is also the dodge button. It's the same button, which I think is a mistake. But anyway,
Right.
In order to do a dodge, you have to double tap the dodge button. If you press a single tap, then you'll do a little like deflection move, and you have to be so precise with that deflection move, and then double tap to do like a bigger dodge. Where you, it's an amazingly animated cartwheel flip out of the way, like very kind of Hong Kong cinema, and very, very cool. muscle memory was like L1 is my parry or my deflect, L1 all the time, and I was messing it up and I was dying brutally. But then you kind of get the hang of it, but I was still avoiding the deflecting like crazy. I was just dodging and pick it. It's like trying to space myself out and then go for the attack without worrying about the deflecting mechanics. But then very quickly you realize you got to get the hang of this, because some of the enemies are so tough that you got to really harness the deflecting and counter moves. But I loved the morale system, because if you're dodging and just evading and playing defensively, you have a red meter or an orange meter that fills up. But if you're on the offensive, that meter goes down to the center and then builds up on the other side like a blue meter. And it's the same for them. So if you're attacking them, their orange meter will fill up and your blue meter will fill up on the other side. So you're smashing their posture kind of thing, and then that will weaken them, and then you can get some heavy attacks in. But also, if you take out a higher level enemy, like a not a mini boss, but just like a higher, like a general or something like that, as Sarah was saying, like if you take him out, all the other morale of the enemies will maybe drop by 1 or 2 ranks because you've killed their leader. And then
cool.
therefore, like, oh shit, this guy's a fucking badass. He's just killed our general or our captain or lieutenant or whatever. And then they're like, oh, I don't know if we can take this guy out. So that is just really interesting. A very, very different mechanic for Soulsborns. And as Sarah says, like it's very beautiful, even in this demo state. And I just can't wait to see what they do with the level design in the world and that interconnectivity and Chinese mythology. But the spells casting is really cool. All the other mechanics are just really kind of, it just felt so tight in a way that Team Ninja games kind of always are. They're just so well kind of crafted and polished and mechanically sound. The only thing I hope they would be able to change, I don't think they will though, is just move the dodge, move the parry to the L1 and let me just deflect on bumper rather than have to double tap for my dodge. You know, that minor stuff like that. Very hard. But you will overcome it because you find these different rally points to then build up your morale, your ranking. And what's interesting is, like, as Sarah mentioned, that she kept dying to the one boss. If you find the flag points within the various parts of the level, you will build up your base morale rank. So even if you're continually dying, you won't drop below a certain level, but you will. You'll still lose your kind of levels, but you won't go below like 5 or 10 or something like that. So you're never going to be knocked all the way back down to level 0 if you keep dying to the one character all the time, which is obviously really great. Or you can just go straight for the highest level enemies and try and take them out, and then you'll get a massive jump in your rank by if you're good enough to take them out at a level 1, take out a level 15, and then you'll jump up to that kind of level. Very exciting game, very tough. I'm really on board with playing more of it, and I think it's out. It says I think early 2023, so we'll see what that transpires to be. But very pretty game, and it just felt good, right? It felt so polished. It felt so fluid, in a way that not many other games often nail, especially myself coming off the back of Steel Rising, where I'm playing an automaton, which is janky as fuck, but intentionally so. And then I'm all of a sudden this amazingly slick, fluid Chinese warrior in mythological China. I'm like, oh yes, here we go. And again, weapon variety, Sarah, what did you think about that? Because you get curved swords and spears and katanas and stuff.
It's really cool. And sort of as you sort of move through that beginner area, which is, it's quite like condensed, and you can sort of see it alluding to the potential of being kind of interconnected. But I think it is quite linear for this demo. You not just have your swords, but you also have access to bow and arrows as well, which is really cool. At one point, after defeating one of the generals, I was like, oh, I only got 4 arrows to start with. I've already used them. And you open up a chest, and it's like 10 more arrows. I'm like, great. I'm looking forward to this, because then I can just pop a bunch of bad guys off on the way through the next area. And I'm like, I don't have to be up close with these guys. So it was cool to have that. It was cool to have basically everything. So you've got your close combat, sword swordsmanship, kicks and jumps and whatnot. You got your bow and arrow if you want to be popping off bad guys that are kind of up on upper levels, and you got your magic, which is really cool as well. So you basically have everything all combined, but you can build your character based on the style that you want, and it all kind of works within this like 5 elements, and it marries into the beasts that you can summon and things like that as well, which I thought was really cool. Did you hear that the producer of the game said that they're going to do this thing where the big bosses will be able to summon in player characters if you're playing online? So you can bring in real people. There'll be certain bosses that'll be able to do that, which I was like, what? That's crazy. So then you have to choose, are you going to take out the PC that's just joined in, or are you going to take out the big boss? So that sounds great and terrifying at the same time.
Oh man, that sounds like it's going to be really, really hard if that's the case. It's like you've got to, not only do you have to fight this epic boss, but you have to fight out another invader as well.
Yeah. Apparently they did it.
I'll be summoning co-op if that's the case.
Yeah.
Summoning an ally.
Oh yeah. It's like let's split up. You take the big bad. I'll take this PC invader. But apparently they did it in Dark Souls 2. I feel like now I'm thinking, like, did I not play through all of that? Because there's a big boss called the Looking Glass Knight that can summon. Yeah, okay. Can summon like regular NPCs if you're not playing online, but can actually have invader PCs as well.
Right. That's quite a trait of FromSoft, because Demon Souls, one of the bosses is the monk. And the boss is just, it'll summon in, well, if you're not playing online, it's just a regular kind of phantom NPC character. But if you're online, then usually it will summon in a player invader, and it can work in your favor. They might be really low rank, or they can be a high level invader and you just get your ass kicked. So, oh man, I don't know how I feel about having to take out an invader and the boss, because in Demon Souls, the invader just was the boss. It was one enemy you had to take out. But the 2 enemies, that could be really hard. I don't know. I might be switching it off at that point. I'm like, no, I'm done. Thank you.
One of my things
what's
about...
interesting? Oh, sorry.
We're both trying to... We're both
I know.
excited.
We're both excited. You go first, and I'll go.
I was just going to say that, like, one of my things about playing Souls-like is... playing with other people, like getting people to come in co-op, even if it's just wandering around a level, to be like, cool, I just want to explore this, come in with me, we'll go for a walk, and we'll smack up all the bad guys and find where all the good items are. Like, I love that about the Souls games that I've played. And even if you're just on chat with people on Discord or on PlayStation chat with people, I don't even have to have them in the game. It's just nice to have somebody there. It's not quite the same as having someone literally sat next to you, but there's something about, you sort of feel you can endure more of a beating when you've got your friends there going, no, just go again. Oh man, that sucks. Go and kick his ass now. Yeah, absolutely.
I really hope that it's what I refer to as proper co-op, as proper drop-in, drop-out co-op. Not, I mean, this is a kind of a strange complaint as well. As much as I love the way From Software handles co-op, because it's all lore-based, it's so convoluted and annoying that it will boot you as soon as you kill a boss, or if you clear an area, it will boot you, and then you have to go through this whole palaver of dropping summon signs, and then the other player has to see the summon sign and to be able to call you in. I just want to be able to send Jamie a message to say, Jamie, join this game, and he can just literally drop in with his character, and we can play the whole game as co-op. I would love for them to do that. I don't know if they will, because Neo didn't do that. It was summon points, or there's a bit of a process, but it wasn't like it wasn't as convoluted as FromSoft games, but it wasn't as easy as, hey Sarah, you want to just jump into my game? Yeah, let's do this. Like join game, and then you're done. That would be amazing if they did that in this, but I don't know if they will. And what I wanted to kind of ask you as well is, there's obviously been a lot of talk, and I'm beginning to think this way as well, is this feels very much like a really good evolution of the Neo games, and obviously shifted from Japanese mythology into a new setting for Chinese mythology in that point in history, the Three Kingdoms point in history. Do you think this is basically Neo 3 just by another name, or do you think it is strong enough to be its full own individual franchise?
I think that from the standpoint, it depends on how you look at it, I suppose, but like I would take that as like I would think that the richness of Chinese mythology would absolutely be an amazing starting point for its own franchise. I think it'd be hard not to compare it to the previous, the previous games, but I would hope that the setting being different and without knowing too much about where the story is going to go, hopefully the story is different enough that it's compelling and it will keep people wanting to play. I think as long as the mythology will be amazing, that's for sure. As long as they're utilizing stuff that exists and it becomes interesting and people get passionate about it for that reason. And if the story's good, I don't see any reason why it couldn't become its own franchise. And I would love for that to be the case because, again, I love, feudal Japanese settings, and Ghost of Tsushima was amazing. And the new ones that have been announced recently, they all look really cool. Rise of the Ronin, all of this looks amazing. But it's nice to have just something a little bit different. And to learn about something different. And it makes me interested in that mythology and to see what they'll represent. And maybe they'll choose bits of it to go with for now, to leave them with stuff to explore for future games. That'd be really nice.
Yeah, 100%. More Chinese mythology stuff and more rich kind of settings that are not explored. And because I'm totally with you, Sarah, as much as I love Japanese mythology setting-based kind of games, we're getting spoiled with how many there are now, and now it's popular, now it's cool to get your game into that setting. But at that point, we're going to be so fatigued, and this will stand out because it is something different and equally rich, and more, maybe even more visually fantastical as well, which I'm hugely excited for. But balls to the wall, hard game. Jesus Christ. And yeah, I may not even get very far the way through it, but I'm gonna have fun trying because it just looks amazing.
We can play together.
We can tag team it until the boss summons in an NPC player, and we'll both scarper like crazy. Anyway, let's move on to our next topic, and it is, well, we'll probably just talk briefly about this actually, because it is the Yakuza blowout of games. So we mentioned a little bit earlier about Ishin, Like a Dragon Ishin, which is the finally the Western release of the PlayStation 3 game, which I believe also came to PS4, but a long time ago, only in Japan. That's finally getting a release Western side. But what I wasn't expecting is another 2 Yakuza games to get announced. I was really, really surprised about that. So, Like a Dragon 8 is... sorry, is it called? Hold on. Like a Dragon 8 is coming out, but also Like a Dragon, The Man Who Erased His Name, is another one that's coming out. So we're getting 3 mainline Yakuza games, which I was not expecting at all. I thought, calm down, RGG Studios. Just like take a breath. You can release one at a time. You don't have to announce all 3. But also, what is interesting is they're now dropping the Yakuza name entirely from their games going forward. It will now be only referred to as Like a Dragon, which for those who don't know, RGG, Ryuga Gotoko, means Like a Dragon in Japanese. So they're now dropping that and going with Like a Dragon as the main franchise name going forward. So that's really interesting. But again, I don't know enough about these games. I know Ishiban, who was the protagonist in the 7th game, which was just Like a Dragon. He was the new protagonist. Everybody thought, myself included, that this character was going to be the main character going forward. Yakuza 6 really said farewell to Kiryu, who was the main protagonist out of all of the games up until that point. But Like a Dragon 8, he's coming back, which is interesting. He's getting pulled back into the life. And he's going to be alongside Ishiban. And I don't know anything about the man who erased his name, but apparently it follows Kiryu's life after leaving the Yakuza, I think. But anyway, guys, thoughts on Yakuza series in general, and also the announcement of not 1, not 2, but 3 games in this franchise. Jamie.
It's a hell of a thing to just suddenly turn around and go, by the way, we have some game. We're making everything. Although it seems to be becoming a trend. Like we said, with Ubi doing it, with the AC games and all of that, like, it does seem the studios are maybe giving us a little bit to look forward to down the road more. So, the Yakuza games, I have dabbled on friends' consoles over the years a couple of times. Really interesting. Like I know there's quite a rich lore there and really interesting stories and characters, and like I know they have a lot of love. I don't have a great history with them at all, or not a particular history with them at all. It sounds like I've got a bad. I was
A spurned lover for the
upset by a
Yakuza
Yakuza
series.
game in the past, but yeah, but the no, it they look fantastic, and I believe, unless I've got this wrong, that they are on or hitting Game Pass.
All of them, the current games up until Like a Dragon, which is the 7th mainline one, and the Judgment series, which is 2, are on. No, sorry, the Judgment ones are not, but all of the Yakuza games are on Game Pass for Xbox and PC at the moment.
Yeah, so I will add them to the pile of shame.
That's like 1,000 hours of gaming just across that 7 games, dude. That's crazy. But karaoke, Jamie, come on. Karaoke mini games.
I can never say no to karaoke, to be fair. So, no, they look really interesting. I think the most interesting thing for me, as you know, without having a history with the games and without necessarily being massively invested in the story, it's more interesting for me in a way to see how the studio is evolving their approach and turning around and saying, right, we're going to drop this well-known name, and we're going to tell you about the next 3 in the series, and they're all coming. And it shows a lot of confidence in their their product and their fan base, and they know that we can already decide that this is what we're doing for the next 5-10 years because you're gonna be in because we've nailed this, we've got you, it's perfect.
Yeah.
So, which is good. And the dropping the name thing, not something that you see a hell of a lot, considering it's a continuation of the franchise, but they're dropping what brands the franchise, so to speak. So that was an interesting move. I'm not sure what prompted that, but I don't think it'll affect it negatively. But
can you imagine like Assassin's Creed dropping the Assassin's Creed name and just going with like something else? But it's still Assassin's Creed games, but it's not called Assassin's Creed. It goes with some, or another mega franchise. Like Uncharted drops the Uncharted name and it goes with Lost Legacy or the other, like another title or something like that for that particular game, but still using the same characters, but it's just not called that anymore to evolve the franchise into something else, but it's still brand familiarity, yet you're dumping it. It's really interesting.
It's unusual, and I can't think of anything else that's done it off the top of my head.
I was wondering if
I really can.
I mean, could it be? I mean, are they trying to move away stylistically from where the games started? I don't really know too much about this franchise, unfortunately. But I wonder if stylistically it's changing.
Hypothesizing, I think it's maybe they just want to evolve it away from Yakuza as its main focus, to then maybe tell different stories and different settings or different groups of characters that are not focused around the Yakuza. But I'm speculating as to that if that's the reason or not. But it might.
That makes sense, I suppose, because that would be how they managed to get away with having a couple of games lined up, because essentially they've opened things up, right? If they're not limiting themselves to the Yakuza exclusively anymore, then they can be like, great, so look at all this world we can now look at. So maybe it was in order to allow them to not justify, but it maybe makes it easier for them to release a bunch more games because they're not as restricted by the name.
Yeah, possibly.
It makes sense. The other thing I'm sort of wondering is when you said about stylistically, I was thinking back to Tekken. If you mention Tekken, I have a very particular vision of what that is in my head. So I suppose any time that a dev studio does want to, like, if you've played the Yakuza series, I would imagine you have a very particular image of what you're getting into, and what sort of thematic themes. Jesus, the English language is hard to say. What sort of
Thematic
themes?
themes.
Hold on.
Thespian Jamie is going to town
More
here with his
caffeine.
grammar. Love it.
That was horrendous. That may be the worst sentence I've ever constructed in my life, and I feel shame. So, but yeah, what sort of themes you're going to have, what sort of plot lines you might see, what sort of characters. So yeah, if you do want to start telling stories that are a little bit more broad or invested, I suppose it makes sense to just drop a bit of the brand recognition so it doesn't automatically trigger that expectation of this is what I'll be getting. And then you avoid that thing we were talking about with Deathloop to a degree, because obviously that was based off of knowing what a dev studio does. But in this case, it's if you're walking into it with that, this is what I'm getting. It's like me with Halo. I walked into that thinking I'm getting a game that will function and I'll be able to play with friends. And instead, I got Sorrow. So never letting it go. Never letting it go. But so you have this image, and it would help to allow you to broaden your horizons as a dev team, I would imagine.
Yeah, like creatively flexing in different directions. So yeah, hugely exciting for what they're going to do with it, and also narratively what they're going to do with Kiryu and Ichiban kind of together on their adventures. So exciting times for Yakuza fans. And again, it's a series I have dabbled with a little bit, but I don't know a massive amount, and I haven't invested that much time into it. But because they're all on Game Pass, I really want to download them all and play through them. But again, it's time and hard drive space, guys. It's like first world problems. It's like where do I find the time? I have been contemplating doing a full streaming series of like all of them, all the way through. Maybe doing it like that. So sharing it with the audience at the same time could be an idea, and we kind of discover all of the plot points together and maybe make that. But my God, that would be an extremely long running series. It could be till the end of time because of all of the Yakuza games.
That would be good, though. If you could do that, then I could be playing some game from my pile of shame while watching you on the second monitor, and that way I can start multitasking to get through all of these titles.
This is genius. I love it. Endorsed.
Yeah.
Endorsed. Okay, it's gonna happen then. It's gonna happen. I promise by the next time we record, I will have started.
Yes.
But no guarantees. So, okay, let's wrap up with a very quick one. The Nintendo Direct of September. So for me, I don't know how you guys felt about this. I was watching it and pretty much everything just wasn't really of any interest to me, apart from the clanger that they dropped at the very end of the show. And that's what I want to talk about. But before we go into that, I'll let you guys maybe mention anything that you guys want to talk about on the Nintendo Direct. Sarah?
I mean, that sounds like there's loads of things that are coming, like things that have maybe been on other consoles or sort of previous iterations of things. But one thing I thought that was really interesting. So I've played Ring Fit, and they're doing a fitness boxing game called Fist of the North Star, which, I mean, great name. I'm already invested based off that. And I started boxing in real life about a couple months ago, and so I was like, this sounds really cool. It'll be a nice way of being able to practice at home, especially when it gets colder and I don't want to leave the house. So I thought that looked really interesting, and I'm curious as to how they're going to make it work. But what's really cool, the imagery looks like something out of like a Street Fighter game or out of an old school like Tekken game, and I'm like, that's cool. So essentially it looks like you just hold on to the Joy-Cons and just pow 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 towards the screen, which sounds amazing. And the Ring Fit one was really fun. It came with this massive like ring attachment thing that you put your little controllers into, one on your leg and one on the actual ring, the ring thing. But this seems much more simple because you don't even need any additional stuff. You're just going to be, stood trying to be a badass boxer in your living room, which if somehow I can also gain fitness benefit from it, yes, that would be fun. That would be really fun. So I thought that was interesting. And I don't often get sort of like excited by by fitness-based games, I tend to want to go out and do fitness elsewhere. I don't necessarily gamify my fitness stuff. And also the Final Fantasy music game that's coming out looks so random, and I was like, I love the Final Fantasy franchise, and the music in those games is beautiful. And some music-based games are a bit silly, but I would definitely play that just purely because the music in the Final Fantasy series are incredible. So, Theat Rhythm or something like that, Final Bar or something that it's called. I was like, yeah, it sounds like absolutely ridiculous, and I'm here for it. Outside of the obvious big drop from that announcement.
Yeah. So just before commenters attack you online, Fist of the North Star is a legendary manga series, Sarah, for Christ's sake.
See, honestly. I have no idea.
Oh my god! Yeah. Oh my god!
Twitching the whole time.
Just before anybody comments about not knowing Fist of the North Star, we can't know everything, people.
Yeah.
We can't know. We have our interests. We can't know everything.
At least I didn't shit on it, going, "Oh, what is this fucking nonsense name?" I was like, "This sounds badass." I'm like, "This sounds cool."
Well, see, now I've got the sound clip. I'm going to edit that as if you've been shitting on it. So all the power I have. Oh, I'm kidding. Sorry, Jamie.
I don't have a Switch, and Nintendo exists in a bubble of its own thing for me. Not in a bad way. It just floats around doing its own thing, and every now and again I spot something and go, "Oh, I should buy a Switch." So the thing that I spotted most was Fist of the North Star, because I actually used to watch the anime back in the day. But although I will leap to Sarah's defense in as much as I think there's a lot of people who don't know what the hell Fist of the North Star is these days.
Yeah.
It's one that's been forgotten. It's one for we were watching this on Channel 4 late at night when our parents said we shouldn't, era of animes. But yeah, that was interesting, and I quite like, because I agree I don't normally gamify my fitness, but what I also don't do is go anywhere else and do any either. Just no fitness for me. I just sit here and slowly merge with my chair, and I'm happy with that. But every now and again, a motion-based game does actually prick my interest. I have over the years found that a lot of them should have stayed as something that I fancied playing and not actually played. The first one in years that I played and quite enjoyed is one of the games on Switch. It's like a collection of games that the kids have got. We play darts on it and things like that. Sometimes that's quite good fun. That's a good laugh. But yeah, so Fist of the North Star is interesting, and obviously the big one that you're going to drop in a minute was interesting. But generally, it's not that anything there wasn't good. It just didn't really hold an awful lot of interest for me, like personally.
Yeah.
But
it's fun to see Octopath Traveler 2 get a sequel, because that's very much when the first one came out, that was channeling very much the old school. Like Final Fantasy RPGs, the pixel-based ones, and I love that what they've done with the aesthetic of that. Of it still looks like 8-bit or 16-bit, probably 16-bit graphics, but they've done this kind of tilt shift effect of the environments where the foreground and the background is blurred, so therefore it looks like a miniature model, but it's still pixel arty and gives that kind of 3D effect, which is really cool. So for fans of the first one, obviously there's a new one coming, and that's obviously pretty cool for those. Again, as a series I'm not that familiar with. I haven't played much JRPGs historically either, so whilst I kind of acknowledge the nostalgia aesthetic factor, it's like, that looks really cool. That's probably not something I'm actually going to play. But the big one, of course, is Breath of the Wild 2 got another trailer and finally a release date as well, which was really, really surprising. I was of the opinion that this is just going to continually just get shown, but nothing was ever going to be said about when it's actually going to come. Is it going to be like a Phantom game? Is it the equivalent of Half-Life 3, but you're getting trailers and it's never actually going to turn up? But it's not Breath of the Wild 2, guys. Who thought? Who would have thought? It's not. It is Tears of the Kingdom, The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, which is kind of bold actually, because it is a sequel to, I'm assuming it's a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, yet there's no reference in that it is a continuation or a sequel from the title, which is quite interesting and maybe quite bold as well. So if you're not necessarily in the know, you may be thinking this is a brand new, like, standalone Zelda game, which is very interesting and I guess a little bit confusing, but it's a cool title.
It is
topical for all the wrong reasons for in the UK as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good of them to, I guess, the comms team to maybe tell Japan, say, guys, you cannot do a live direct on this day with this title of your game, because this thing has happened.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I have just made that connection. That's because when they said, like, out of respect, we're going to hold off on the live direct, I was thinking, why? But, and no disrespect, obviously, to the royal family, etc., but not everything stops. The world continues, obviously, as tragic as it is for many, and the world continues. And I thought that's an odd one to postpone out of respect, because it's only going to be the gamers who are like. I didn't watch the coverage of the funeral stuff, so I find it quite hard to watch all of that stuff, and to me it would feel mawkish. To others it's respectful. It depends on your viewpoint. Totally fine. For me, doing it would feel off, and it would actually make me. I would struggle with it. So I distracted myself for the day with other stuff. I was playing video games. I was just chilling. That was fine. So I was thinking, there's probably a lot of people who would have quite liked that today. It would be a nice thing for them, would cheer them up. Yeah. This would be a good thing. The country's a little bit sad. And then, with the name announcement, it suddenly connects. There must have been a guy sat there going, no. The timing is wrong. We fucked up. We're just slide it to the side for now. We're very sorry, world. Oh.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, obviously, timing, but
it is.
If you take the name as itself, I think it's a really interesting, evocative title for a Zelda game. And I'm really interested as to what it means in the context of the story as well. It could be really engaging, really interesting. Sarah, I'm not going to ask Jamie this one because he doesn't have a Switch. Have you played Breath of the Wild, and what did you think of it? And are you excited for Tears of the Kingdom?
I'm absolutely excited. I actually haven't finished Breath of the Wild, but I love it. It's so pretty and so fun to play. And I enjoyed the previous Zelda games as well, on Nintendo 64 and whatnot. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Who isn't looking forward to Zelda games if you're a Zelda fan? I think they're really good at any subsequent games that they make always tend to be really, like, just cleverly put together. They're always so, like, just the right level of challenging to play, and the sort of, like, open world feeling to Breath of the Wild was really great. So like, they just do that so exceptionally well. I'm really, really looking forward to it, and curious about what the title will mean for this game. I wonder if they did that thing where they were like, is it meant to be like Tears of the Kingdom or Tears of the Kingdom? If you've just seen it written instead of hearing it said out loud, and they're like, no, it's Tears. It's Tears.
Yeah, like lost in translation or something. They've translated it wrongly and it means something completely different. That could be funny. But yeah, like Breath of the Wild was such a reinvention for Zelda games, and what a phenomenal game. And this seems to be channeling like Skyward Sword elements, because you've got these kind of cities and structures way up in the sky now, and Link will travel, I guess, between the sky and the ground. And what other mechanics are they going to be messing around with? And part of me says, okay, I love my Switch, but I want to play this on a far more powerful piece of hardware.
Yeah.
So that art direction can truly just dazzle like crazy, but at the same time, it's an art design that doesn't get hampered too much with the lower tech, if you know what I mean. It kind of it ages across. It's going to be timeless, right? It's going to be in 10 years or 20 years. that cel-shaded look is still going to work regardless of how powerful the hardware is. So, again, Nintendo's playing to their strengths aesthetically, and whenever there's a first-party Nintendo title coming out, it always feels like such an event that few other developers and games platforms really seem to be able to even come close to. I mean, we've gushed a lot about God of War Ragnarok, of how much we've seen about it and how excited we are. That is going to be like a pinnacle of like AAA game development, and it's going to be amazing. But then Nintendo say, hold my beer, here's a Zelda trailer.
Yep.
And it's just something else. It's just like another level of fandom or something that only Nintendo seem to be able to do. How do they do it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think their legacy is pretty amazing. And I think, I was just wondering while you were saying that, I wonder if they'll ever go back to like a proper console as opposed to being like focusing on their kind of multi-functioning portable stuff. But the Switch is so good. Like, it's amazing for what it does and what you can do with it, and being able to take it away with you and play something like this. And some of the games that they're bringing, like they're bringing a bunch of like Resident Evil games and stuff to it as well. And what else was I reading? I can't remember. Some old like Mario Party, some old like N64 games that are coming to it as well, which is great and so nostalgic. And I think Nintendo is amazing for that. I remember playing Mario Party all the time, so that would be very fun to be able to go back to. I think Pokemon Stadium as well is coming to Switch, which I'm like, yes, I love that game too. That was great.
I just want them to badly release a set of bongos controller accessory for the Switch, because Donkey Konga was one of my all-time favorite GameCube games. Amazing. Get the bongos out, guys, and have that, a party game. I mean, that couch co-op was phenomenal, where it's a music game. You're 4 people with 4 sets of bongos playing different little kind of riffs and stuff of the tunes. Oh my god. But that needs to come back.
Yeah.
I love that.
Agreed.
Nintendo have great previews for it. Because a friend of mine had an N64, and we spent all of our time playing GoldenEye, which is coming to Xbox. Fucking get in. But so GoldenEye, Perfect Dark.
Yes.
But then we would also do the old-fashioned method of multiplayer, playing Super Mario 64 and Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, where it would be, we'd pass the controller back and forth and do bits each, and hours and hours spent in those games. And then played a little bit of Majora's Mask, but that was around about the time when we stopped playing as much as N64, because we were doing other stuff. And then came back from Wind Waker and played that with friends' GameCube, and I used to spend most of my weekends around his place, and we would just play Wind Waker. That and Super Mario Sunshine. And just amazing games. And Wind Waker haunts my dreams, because I cannot see that any game or film or anything, when I'm watching it with the guys or chatting away, and there is a splash or the sound of a splash, and someone will say "splish" because of the little mini game from Wind Waker. It will never go away. It is absolutely part of our personal zeitgeist now. So but it just fantastic games. And Breath of the Wild, I have actually played a little bit. So very briefly for about 5 minutes, when my son turned to me and was like, "How the hell do I do this?" And I give your father a look at this, and I failed miserably and gave it back to him, and he showed me how he's much better than I am. But yeah, just Zelda games are fantastic, and Nintendo, they do have a real. They still have a little of their mystique, unlike a lot of the others, when it comes to their first party. I mean, mystique's maybe the wrong word, but they've still got a little bit of like, "Hey, we're over here. We're doing something awesome. Come look." And you're like, "Ooh, it's shiny." So
it is, because we don't know, outside of the trailers. We have no idea what the mechanics are for this game, or the story. It's super vague, but so interesting and evocative and mysterious. And it's the same with them. Like, whenever they announce a Mario game, it's an event. It's like they're so few and far between. A lot of the time, you're lucky if you get one per generation, and now we're getting 2 Zeldas across the Switch generation, and hopefully we'll get another Odyssey. Or is it going to be something something different? Is it going to be a new moniker, Super Mario something? Again, that it's the legacy IP that you guys were mentioning. It's unrivaled, and it is. They're just printing money, and love them or hate them, Nintendo are not very good to gamers and consumers because of how expensive everything is whenever they bring it to the Switch. It's like, yeah, we're going to sell you Super Mario Galaxy and the Mario Sunshine, and it's going to cost you 60 quid to get these on Switch. It's like, are you kidding me? They're a decade old. Yeah, but they're Mario, bitch. You're going to pay it. You know you're going to pay it. And we pay it.
Yeah.
Because it's Mario or Zelda.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Yeah. Fun times. Anyway, let's wrap it up there, guys. It's been another fantastic show. We covered so much. Sony State of Play, Tokyo Games Conference, Nintendo Direct, Yakuza Blowouts, tons of stuff to look forward to. I want to say a massive thank you to my co-hosts of James and Sarah, my amigos, my partners in crime, and of course to you, the listeners and the viewers, for supporting the show. Our ranking is going up, so leave a comment, leave a like, leave a rating. It really does help to benefit the show, and that little bit of engagement can do a massive boon for our little show. But until next week, guys, take care. We'll be back with episode 79 with even more amazing show notes and interesting bits of news trivia to delve over into. But that's it for me. Take care, and